With more than half of marriages ending in divorce, there are a lot of single middle-aged people out there on the market looking for love, companionships, or maybe just some no-strings-attached fun and affection. Here to tell us more about what the scene is like and how they are navigating it are Ken Solin, who's 67. He is a HuffPost blogger and AARP writer on relationships. Eleanore Wells is 56 9/10 years old and the author of The Spinsterlicious Life in New York, New York. Terri Jay, 59, medium and intuitive life coach in Reno, Nevada. Jo Fay, 56, dating mating connoisseur who runs a middle-aged meetup in Denver, Colorado, which is attended by Rick Voyer, who is 60 years old. I want to bring this blog post up, which is the post that started this conversation. This is from Marcy Miller, Who Counts? And of course, she's referring to the experience that she had dating a gentleman who on the third date sort of frankly asked her if she enjoyed sex and if she would be prepared to have sex with him a minimum of 300 times a year.
If, in fact, it's a matter of saying, yes, he's wanting to have sex 300 times a year, and you were looking to be in a relationship with him, and you were looking to have sex a lot less than that, wouldn't you want to know that somewhere up front? Rather than just go along and hope that it all worked out later on down the road?
So maybe that kind of radical transparency was, potentially could have been construed as refreshing in some way, right?
All she had to say, well, what I think would have been appropriate is, it's about emotional honesty. She could say, I'm really uncomfortable with this conversation. And I think I'd like to have it maybe, but not at this time. I don't feel comfortable because I don't know you that well.
First I thought 300 times a year he wishes. That was my first conclusion. And then I thought, you know what? That's the kind of thing I would want to know really early on because I know how to move on. I'm definitely better at dating and knowing when to move on as I've gotten older. The beauty of having dated for a long time is you sort of learn yourself and you sort of learn what works in relationships and doesn't. Sure. And so I don't spend a whole lot of time on stupid things anymore because I don't have that fantasy that I can fix it anymore. I know it is what it is, and thank you. Nice to know you got to go.
I have run into dating guys that are in their late 60s, and it's like, oh, that's not ever going to happen. And it's like, no, thank you. That's not what I'm interested in. I want the whole package. I think women have to be empowered. We have to be able to make our own choices and our own decisions and our own rules. And we can't be worried about what a guy thinks about it.
So how honest are you, Terri, when you meet somebody for 1, 2, 3 dates? How in-depth do you get about what you're looking for, how much time you're willing to kind of put in for the kind of courtship process, if you will, and all that good stuff?
Well, I set a 10-date rule for myself. Okay. Because with my busy schedule, it's going to take a while till I get 10 dates, and there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in between, not just the dates. There's going to be texting and phone calls, and it's going to give me an opportunity to really get to know them.
One of the things I discovered a long time ago, I dated for 25 years. One of the things I discovered that as soon as the relationship becomes sexual, the getting to know you process slows down to a halt. I mean, it just about stops because sex becomes the focus. And as painful as it's been for me, the woman I'm in a relationship with now for several months, we liked each other right away, and we could have immediately jumped into bed. But we waited several months because we wanted to find out if we liked each other, who we were. And we're having sex. I mean, I'm having the best sex I ever had in my 67 years.
Congrats. Love to hear that.
I don't have a rule about that. I think it takes as long as it takes it takes as long as it does to get to know someone. So some people I know after 2 or 3 dates, really special happening here, or maybe not. And sometimes it takes longer. I don't put parameters around it necessarily. I sort of go by the chemistry thing and what drives me. If I'm thinking about him and feeling pulled towards him, then that's a good thing.
One of the other responses that the man may have given or the woman may have given was the fact that, oh, you mean you're a great catch, you're a great guy, and I get to have sex 300 times a year? Let's get started tonight. I think that you will find that there are people who would want to respond like that, and that's perfectly normal. And for me, I found that in relationships, you can get along and get to know one another sexually and still continue to get to know one another and the relationship to grow and develop, so that I don't think that it necessarily hinders the getting to know one another process.
Why would you want to set the bar that high that soon? I mean, all of a sudden the expectation is, wow, here's a guy who likes to get it on every night, almost every night. You know,
Yeah.
maybe you get Sundays off. That sounds great to me. And then it turns out maybe it's 40 times a year or 80 times a year. If it's 298 times a year, that's not 300 either.